This is part 1 of the Divi Builder plugin tutorials. You can build any website combining the Divi Builder plugin with any theme of your liking. As you might be used to by now, I have put all videos together and will give you, below every video in this series of 3 so far, a full index of what part of the video is dealing with what part of the Divi Builder plugin tutorials. You will find all links to these parts below the video on YouTube or on the special page on www.wordpressexamples.com. All videos, by the way, are courtesy Nick Roach, owner of Elegant Themes. We also have a special offer if you don't have a subscription of Elegant Themes yet. You can also find a link to that offer below the video. Last but not least, it will be appreciated if you subscribe to the WordPress Examples YouTube channel. Click the little red icon in the corner of the video to subscribe now and stay up to date with great tutorials and free WordPress stuff. Thanks for watching.
In this tutorial, I'm going to give you a basic overview of the Divi Builder blog module. Now, the blog module creates a feed of posts in a blog style, and so you can use this to create your own custom blog pages. You can choose which categories of posts to display. You can choose from different layout settings. And for example, here is a page that I've built with the blog module. I've placed the blog feed here on the left, and to the right I've placed a sidebar module. So it's an example of how you can create your own kind of custom blog page. This is using the standard format, and down here we have the blog module in a different format. I have it placed by itself, no sidebar, and I have it in grid format instead of standard format. And it also supports various post formats. So here's a quote post, a link post, a gallery post, video as well, and audio. And so I have another post that goes over the post format, so be sure to check that out. I'm not going to touch on how to create those post formats in this post. I'm just going to go over the actual blog module, which is merely used to display the post that you've created. But you do have to create the post first. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a new page, and I'm going to basically create our own custom blog page. So I'm going to go over to the dashboard here. I'm going to click the Add New Page button. I'm just going to call it Custom Blog, and I'm going to click the Use Divi Builder. Now, on this page, I'm going to create a very standard blog design. I'm going to I'm going to use a specialty section here. So I'm going to add a specialty section, which is great for pages with sidebars. And in this case, I want to have my blog feed on the left and a sidebar on the right. And so I'm going to use this format here with a 1/4 column sidebar. I'm going to delete this first section because I don't need that. And in the left here, I'm going to add my blog module. And on the right here in the sidebar, I'm going to add a sidebar module. So I'm not going to go over how to use the sidebar module. I'm just going to add it for effect here. But be sure to check out the sidebar module tutorial if you want to learn more about that. In this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the blog module. So I'm going to click the Insert Columns button first, and I'm going to put it in a full column, 1 column, and then I'm going to click Insert Modules and look for that blog module, which is right here. Now once you click on the blog module, you're going to get greeted with the Module Settings page. And all Divi Builder modules settings are broken up into 3 tabs: the General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. Now, everything you need to configure the module and create a great page with Divi can be found inside the General Settings tab. There's no need to venture outside this tab into the Advanced Design Settings unless you really want to have more control over the design and get a little bit more advanced with how you customize that design. So if you move over here, you're going to get all kinds of customization options, and you can really customize everything about the module. And if you want to add some custom CSS to the module, you can do that too. You can add it to individual parts of the module. Now, I have created tutorials for both of these tabs that go over in more detail how to use them, so be sure to check out those tutorials if you want to learn more. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So first up is the layout, and you can choose between 2 different layouts, full width and grid, which I previewed just a moment ago. The grid option places the blog posts in smaller boxes, and it'll separate those into different columns based on the column width you've chosen. And you can also choose full width, which is a kind of a standard blog feed, and the posts will be 100% width stacked on top of each other vertically. I'm going to stick with full width for this one, but we can check out the grid layout later. Next up is the post number. You can choose how many posts are displayed per page. I'm just going to choose 4. And if you have more than 4 posts, you'll have some pagination at the bottom, and you can switch, explore deeper into different pages and find more posts. Next up, you can choose which categories to display. If you don't choose any, then it's going to display all of your categories. But if you'd like to limit it to just a few categories, you can do that. In this case, I just want everything to display, so I'm just going to leave it unselected. You can choose the date format. So this uses standard PHP date formats. You can go look that up. There's some great tutorials online. Just type in how to use PHP date formats. And you can customize. You can say, for example, if you want to say July 1st, 2015, or maybe you want to say, to do it numbers instead. So you might want to say, if it was like October 10th, it'd be 10/10/2015. You can switch between those various date formats by typing in the appropriate date format here. Next up is the option to show featured images. If you've uploaded a featured image for your post, you can choose to display or to not display that image along with each post. Next is the content itself. So this is the content of the blog post. You can choose to automatically truncate that content and create an excerpt out of it. So it just maybe shows a small paragraph, and then you have to click into the blog post to read the full post. Or you can choose to display the full post on the page. If you do have an excerpt, you can turn on and off the Read More button. You can choose to, within the post meta, to show the author, date, categories, comment count, and you can also choose whether or not you want to show pagination at the bottom. As for offset, what this allows you to do is skip a few posts. For example, if you want to display your blog post, but you want to skip the first 3 posts for whatever reason, you can do that. So if I put in 3 here, the 3 most recent posts will not be shown. This is great if you want to have multiple blog modules on the same page. For example, let's say you're creating a kind of more advanced magazine style format. Maybe, your first post, the most recent post, you want to have it full width. So you create a blog module, set it to full width, and just display one post. And then below that, you have maybe another blog module in grid format. And you don't want to display that first post twice, so you might set the offset to 1 to skip it. So that's how offset works, but in this case, I'm not going to use it. Next up is text color. So if your blog module is on top of a light background, you want to have dark text. If the blog module is on top of a dark background, you're going to want to switch to light text. And then we have our standard admin labels, CSS ID and CSS class, which we don't need to worry about in this tutorial. If at any time you want to get a preview of what your module looks like, you can click the preview icon here, and you'll get your blog module in this case, or whatever module you're working with, and it'll be previewed within the current section you're working on. So you can see my section is displayed here with the sidebar module, and here's the blog module I just added. And you can switch through our various responsive design testing tabs here to get an idea what that module looks like on different devices. And so if I were to switch, for example, to grid layout, I could do that and get a preview of what that looks like. So now I have the grid format instead. Maybe I want to disable featured images. I could do that as well. Switch back to our preview mode here. And now you can see that the featured image has been removed from this standard post. And if I save and publish, we can take a look at this page on the front end. So there we have it. We've created a basic blog page with a sidebar and the blog module here set to grid format with pagination, and you can paginate through this list of posts. And like I said, you can also dig into those advanced design settings if you want to. So over here, you could customize the header font, for example. Maybe make it bold and all caps, increase the size a little bit. It's all kinds of stuff. In fact, there's no limit to what you can do in these advanced design settings. And while you're customizing it, feel free to pop into that preview to see what you've created. Here I've increased the font size, made it bold and all caps, and changed the font as well. So that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder blog module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder Image Gallery module. As the title suggests, the Image Gallery module allows you to add an image gallery to your post or page. Here's an example of a Divi image gallery. When you click on an image, it opens up in a lightbox, which is nice. And you can also choose to have it be in grid mode, as you see here, or to have the gallery be in the form of a slider, as you see here. So there's two different choices. And so let's jump into the image gallery module settings, and I'll show you exactly how to use this on a poster page. So here's a post I'm working on. It's just a standard post with a sidebar and some text. And between these two blocks of text, I would like to add an image gallery. I'm going to edit the page. And below that first row, I'm going to add a new row. And I'm going to make it a 1-column row and drag it up between that first row and the second row. And then I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the Image Gallery module, which is right here. It's called Gallery. And once you click the Gallery module, you're going to be greeted with the Image Gallery module settings. As with all Divi Builder modules, these settings are broken up into 3 different tabs: the General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to create an awesome page in the Divi Builder is available in the General Settings tab. But if you'd like even more control over the appearance of your module, then you could venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which gives you all kinds of great controls over the appearance of your module, and you can customize just about everything. Font sizes, font colors, line heights, letter spacing, everything is customizable here. And if you know CSS, you can also just jump in with custom CSS instead and apply CSS to the overall module or elements within the module. Now I have some great tutorials that go over how to use these 2 tabs in more detail, so be sure to check those out. And in this tutorial, I'm really just going to focus on the general settings. So moving back to the General Settings tab, the first thing you're going to want to do for your gallery is create the gallery from a collection of images, and we just use the standard WordPress gallery creation process. So you can click the Update Gallery button here, and then you can just choose some images to use in your gallery. So in this case, I'm just going to choose these 4 images, and then I'm going to click Add to Gallery, and then I'm going to click the Update Gallery button, and we're good to go. The gallery's been added, and now we can continue on to the additional settings that affect the appearance of those images. First up is the layout, and we can choose between grid and slider, which I showcased earlier. And in this case, I'm going to start out with the grid mode. And then you can choose the amount of images that are displayed per page within the gallery. And if you have more images than are allowed here, then a pagination will be created, and you can click between different pages of images. So for example, if I were to change this to 2, and since my gallery has 4 images, that would create 2 pages of 2 images instead of 1 page of 4. But since I really don't need to limit it to 2, I'll just keep it at 4, and that'll create 1 page of images. Next up, you can choose to show the title and caption of the image below the image, which is the name and the caption you define within the gallery that we just edited. And in this case, I don't need to show that. I'm going to turn that off. We also don't need pagination. Next up is text color. Since I'm working with a light background color, I'm going to want to have dark text. But if you were working with a dark background color, you might want light text. And in this case, since we actually just disabled all text, it really won't matter in this particular situation. Next up, we have admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. Now, whenever you're editing a module, you can get a quick look at what you've created so far by clicking the preview icon here, and that will render the current module within the current section that it exists in. So if I scroll down here, you can see the image gallery module, that I've been working with, and you can switch between our responsive design testing tabs as well to get an idea how that module looks at various screen sizes. And you can exit it here. Let's say I want to switch between grid and slider. I can switch to slider and see what that might look like by clicking the preview icon and getting a quick look here. So that's how a slider would look. And I'm going to switch back to grid. And seeing as 3 images might actually look nicer, since if you see here in my preview that the 4th image actually got put on another line, this is a great opportunity to actually use that image count setting to limit it, so I can limit it to 3 instead, and then enable pagination, which will limit the images to 3 per row, and then I can switch to the next page if I like, and that creates a much nicer effect. It's never good to have, one phantom image on the bottom there. Okay, so that looks great. I'm going to save and exit and click update, and we can take a look at our page on the front end. And here we go. Here's our finished page. We've created an image gallery between these 2 rows of text. I've chosen the grid layout. I've limited the per page image count to 3, which creates the pagination at the bottom here. And I can switch back and forth between page 1 and 2. And yep, that's a basic overview of the image module general settings. But let me just show you a quick example of how to use those advanced design settings as well. So I'm going to jump into the advanced design settings here. There's a bunch of great stuff you can do here. For example, you can adjust the zoom icon color. By default it's blue, but if I want to make it purple, I could do that. The hover overlay color, right now it's white, but I could change it to black and it would darken the images instead of lighten them, which might be a nice effect. And you can use the alpha slider here to adjust the alpha transparency as well. So I can get a quick look at that, and you can see that the icon color has been changed to purple, and the hover color has been changed to a transparent black. And as I look at this preview, I can see that, that purple color doesn't really show up very well on that darkened image. So I might maybe change that to something else like white and take a look at that. And as you see, that's looking quite nice. So that's just an example of how you can use those advanced design settings to really customize the appearance of the module. And that's a basic overview of the image gallery module. In this tutorial, I'll be going over the Divi Builder audio module. What this does is place an audio player on your post or page, which will play an audio file of your choosing. You can assign it a title, an artist, and an album, a custom background color, and you can also give it a cover art image, as you see here. Now, this is a great way, for example, if you are a musician, you'd like to showcase some of your songs, or perhaps you run a podcast, you'd like to display all of your latest podcast episodes. There's some great ways to use the audio module. So for example, I have an About Me page here, and let's just say I'd like to place my latest work, my latest song here on the right. Well, I'm going to edit this page, and inside of that empty column, I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the audio module here. Now clicking the audio module will bring up the audio module settings. As with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. Now, as a general philosophy, everything you need to configure the module and create a great page in Divi can be found in the General Settings tab. You only need to venture into these Advanced Design Settings if you want increased control over the design of the module, for example, custom fonts, font sizes, colors, and all of that. And if you know CSS, you can also jump into the Custom CSS box to apply custom CSS to each individual part of the module. And we have tutorials that cover these 2 tabs, so be sure to check those out if you'd like to learn more. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. First up is the audio upload setting, where you can choose which audio file you'd like to play inside of the audio module. So I'm going to click the upload button and choose a song that I've uploaded. Next up is the title. You can give a title to the song or the podcast. I'm just going to call it My Song. Next up is the artist name, and these are optionals. You don't have to input these if you don't want to. Next up is the album name. Again, optional. You can choose to upload cover art, which will be placed either above or to the left of the audio file. So I'm going to click upload image and choose a nice image to go along with my song. I have this nice cityscape here. Next up, you can choose your text color, either light or dark. If you're, for example, creating a background, if you add a background color to the audio module, you might want to use light text if that background color is dark, and use dark text if the background color is light, or if you don't assign a custom background color, in which case the background will be most likely white, depending on the background of your theme and your page. So I'm going to change to dark since my background is light. And at any time, if you want to get a preview of the module you're creating, you can click this preview icon here. And that's going to give you a preview of the module you're working with inside of the current section that it's in. So here I have my audio module here in this column besides my text module there. And I can click these responsive design testing tabs to see how the module looks on different screen sizes. For example, if I wanted to change the image, I could do that. Get a quick preview, and you can see that the image has changed to that new image. So that basically covers the audio module settings. And like I said, you can also jump into these advanced design settings if you'd like to change something about the module in particular. For example, I could change the title font, make it bold and all caps, and maybe even increase the size a little bit. And again, I can preview that. So here, look at my title's gotten way bigger. It's all caps. The font has changed, and you can customize everything inside the module with those advanced design settings. I'm going to save and exit and update my page, and we'll take a look at that on the front end. And there you can see my page has been updated. My audio module has been added here. And if I click play, it's going to play that song, and you can adjust the volume over here. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder audio module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder video module. The video module makes it easy to add video to your page, whether it be self-hosted video or videos hosted on third-party websites such as YouTube and Vimeo. These videos will automatically resize to the column that you place them in, and you can also add overlay images and custom play buttons as you see here. So I have a basic post here, and I would like to add a video down here between these two columns. So I'm going to edit the page, add the video module, and then we'll jump into the settings. So I'm going to add a new row down here, drag it up, and then I'm going to click Insert Modules and look for the video module towards the bottom of the list. Once you click on the video module, you'll be greeted by the various video module settings, and as with all Divi Builder modules, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to build a great page with the Divi Builder can be found inside the general settings. However, if you want to have more control over the appearance of your module, then you can venture into the advanced design settings, where there are all kinds of different customization options for the module. Now, the video module in particular doesn't really have that many options because we're really just dealing with one square block that comes usually from YouTube or Vimeo. So we really just have one option here, which is to adjust the play icon color, but normally there might be a lot more options here. And custom CSS, if you know CSS, you can also apply custom CSS to the module or elements within inside the module right from this screen. And I have some more tutorials that go over the advanced design settings and custom CSS and how to use those effectively. So I'd be sure to check those out, but in this tutorial I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So heading back to the general settings, let's go over each of these settings in order. First of all, as mentioned earlier, you can host your own video, or you can display a video from a third-party service. So in this first input fields where you want to either input the URL to your third-party video, such as a link to YouTube, and you just input the full URL, or you can upload your own video. So I'm going to upload my own video here, and here you can see all the videos that I've uploaded in the past, and so I'm just going to choose one of these. Now you can also upload multiple formats, because certain browsers will only play certain types of video formats. So typically you want to upload both an MP4 and a WebM if you're doing a self-hosted video. As you can see, I have both versions here, so I'm going to upload them both. And if you don't have a WebM video version of your video, there's a lot of free conversion tools out there. So just Google WebM conversion tool, and I'm sure you'll find one. And once you have both of those uploaded, we can move on to the next settings. Image overlay, this is optional. You can upload an image overlay which will appear over the video, and then it'll have to be clicked before the video can actually be played. But it kind of makes things look a little cleaner, and then you have more control over the image, especially if you're linking to a YouTube video where you don't really have control what the splash image is or what the automatically generated image is. Also, if you are using a video from YouTube, we have the option to generate the thumbnail automatically from the video. And then, so you don't have to actually create an image yourself. It'll generate it from the thumbnail image that was designated for that video, and then it'll overlay the video and create a nice play icon, which, like I said, just a different style, and it can look a little bit nicer. For now, I'm just going to leave this blank, and I'll come back and revisit that in a second. Now, at any time when you're editing a module, you can preview the module by clicking the preview icon here. So if I click this, you'll see the current module rendered inside of its parent section. So this is the entire section, and here's the video module we added. And you can bounce between our responsive design testing tabs, as you see here, to get an idea what your module will look like at different screen sizes. And you can exit the preview here. And so I'm going to save and exit, and then we'll take a look at what we've built on the front end here, just to show you what it looks like. Taking a look at their page, we'll scroll down and see here's the section or the row we added and the video, and I can play the video here, which is just this water droplet. And there you go, and this will look nice in any browser basically that supports MP4 or WebM. Now, like I said, you can also use videos from YouTube or Vimeo, and it's really easy to use those. You don't have to do anything special. All you need to do is copy and paste the URL from YouTube and paste it into the settings box. So let's try that instead. I'm going to edit this video, and instead of using these, I'm just going to delete these so we can get rid of our custom video, and instead I'm just going to paste in a URL to YouTube. This is the full URL. I just copied it and pasted it from my browser address bar, and that's it. And so if we preview, you'll see that this is now a YouTube video. Instead, it's introducing our 2.4, so 2.4 Divi promo video. And like I said, you can also upload an image overlay for that. So if I were to upload an image instead, if I want to change that that standard thumbnail image to something custom, I can do that. So here I've uploaded a custom image, and if I preview, you'll see that the video now has this image overlay, and so you have complete control over the original or initial state of the video. And if I click this, then I can play the video. Now, like I said, if you really like that look of the clean look of the image overlay, but you don't have an image you can use, you can also generate one from the video if you're using YouTube or Vimeo or other self-hosted services. So you just press generate from video, and there it's grabbed it automatically. And now if I preview it, you can see now it uses this image overlay visual style with the big play button, and it's grabbed this image automatically from YouTube. So there's a couple different options. You can upload your own custom videos, you can use YouTube videos, and if you use either, you can also upload a custom image overlay, which will appear over the image interface or over the video interface. It'll hide all the buttons and stuff, make it look a little bit cleaner, and replace everything with just one standard play button, which looks a lot nicer in my opinion. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the video module and its various settings. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the video slider module. The video slider allows you to create a nice gallery of videos, and they can also be slid through like a slider or clicked through at the bottom. As seen here, you can upload custom image overlays as well, so it looks really clean. And you can use your own self-hosted videos, or you can use videos from YouTube as seen here. And they will automatically adapt to different column sizes and look great no matter what. So I have a page here that I like to add a video slider to, and I want to add it down here below these two rows. And so let's add the video slider and jump into the settings, and I'll show you how to set it up. So I'm going to add a new row here, and then I'm going to click the Insert Module button and look for that video slider module, which is all the way down here at the bottom. Once you click that, you're going to be greeted by the various video module settings. Now, as with all Divi Builder modules, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to build a really great page using the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings. But if you want even more control over the appearance of the module, you can move over to the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS, which will have some additional customization options for the appearance of that module. Now, I have some great tutorials that go over how to use these settings creatively, so I suggest you check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So let's head back to the General Settings tab, and I'll go over how to create a video slider module. You'll see various basic settings here that you can adjust for the video slider as a whole. But before we can actually use the video slider, we first have to add slides of videos. So we want to add our first video, and to do that, I'm going to click the Add New Video button here. And this will bring up various options for our video. Now, the admin label, this is just to keep track of the slide. So you want to maybe like name it something that you can remember. This doesn't have anything to do with what appears in the front end of your site. It's purely for organizational purposes, so I might just call it slide 1. And that's good enough for now. So each video slide supports either self-hosted videos or videos hosted on third-party sites such as YouTube. So you can upload your own video, or you can just link to a YouTube video and it'll automatically embed it. If you do host your own video, we suggest uploading both an MP4 and a WebM version. And the reason you should do that is because certain browsers only support one of the 2 formats. And so if you upload both formats, you have the best chance of every browser being able to play the video. So I could upload my own video, and I have a couple uploaded here in both formats. So here's an MP4 version of my drop or ink video. And here's the WebM version of the same video. And I'm going to upload both just to increase my chances of everyone being able to view these videos natively. Next up is the image overlay. So you can choose to have an image overlay, overlay the video interface, which kind of cleans it up a bit. And then users will have to click the play button on that overlay image and to reveal the true interface and actually play the video. It just kind of cleans things up a bit, and it's purely optional. For now, I'm just going to leave that blank, but I'll show you that later. Next up is the slider arrows color. So when you're sliding through the video, when you hover over the main video, some arrows will slide in. You can click those to go from video to video. And depending on the style you're going for, you can choose to have either light or dark arrows. And especially if you've uploaded a custom image, you'll know what kind of colors you're using in the image. So if you're using a dark image, you might want to use a light arrow. And if you're using a light image, you might want to use a dark arrow. So you can make that choice on a slide-by-slide basis. And since I know that this video happens to be a pretty light color, it's a light blue background, I'm just going to choose dark arrows, which I think will look nice. And since this is a slider, you will want to add at least 2 slides. So I want to add a new video, so I'm going to click Add New Video. And this time I'll add a YouTube video instead. So instead of doing a self-hosted video, I'll pull one from YouTube. And to do that, all you need to do is copy and paste the URL of the video right into the video URL field. No need to upload a WebM video since we're using YouTube instead. And this supports a lot of different services, basically all the major video hosting services, YouTube and Vimeo. Just copy and paste the full URL to the video in here, and the Divi Builder will do the rest. Now, since some of these interfaces can be a little bit ugly, although YouTube's much better than it used to be these days, I think I will upload an image overlay, which will cover up the video and replace it with a nice, beautiful image and a clean play button instead of the standard video interface that YouTube uses. So I'm going to upload an image and choose a nice image to use, like this one. And that looks nice. And I'm going to save. And there we go. We have 2 slides, one self-hosted video, one YouTube video. One has a custom image overlay and one does not. Now that we've created 2 slides, I'm going to go over the basic slider module settings, which affects the entirety of the slider module, whereas the settings we were dealing with earlier were just for those individual slides. So first up, you have the option, if you have chosen an image overlay for the video, you can choose whether or not to display it on the main video. So typically, there's one big video that's kind of like the featured video you're looking at, and then there'll be several smaller thumbnails below it. If you'd rather just have the thumbnail image overlay be applied to the smaller video thumbnails, you can do that by choosing to hide the video here, or you can choose to show it. Next up, we can choose to show or hide the slider arrows. If you'd rather just have people click the thumbnail tracks at the bottom, you can hide the arrows. And vice versa, if you'd rather just have people use the arrows and hide the thumbnail tracks, you can hide those as well. Or use dot navigation, which is a little bit more minimal. So I'll go through a few of these in a second. Slider controls color. So if you are using the dot navigation, you can choose between light or dark slider controls. So if you have a dark background color, you might want to use light. And if you have a light background color, you might want to use dark. And since I have a light background color, I'm going to switch over to dark mode. Then we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS classes, which we don't have to worry about for this tutorial. So whenever you're building a module, you can always get a quick preview of what you built so far by clicking the preview icon here. And so it'll render the module inside of the parent section. So here's our slider module. We have 2 videos, our natively hosted video and our YouTube video, and we can slide through them like this, or click the thumbnail tracks at the bottom to switch between the 2. And I can always exit my preview here. And so, for example, if I want to go back to slide 1 and add an image overlay to that, I could. And then if I preview it, you'll see that the image overlay has been added, which looks a little nicer. And you can switch between the 2. And like I said, you can also choose whether or not to have that image overlay appear on the main track. So if you want to hide that, then when we preview, the first video will be just ready to play. There won't be any overlay image there. So you can turn that on or off as you choose. So let's add a few more videos. I'm going to just duplicate this a couple times to fill out our slider. I'm going to use all YouTube videos and just switch out a few of these images. So now we have a few different videos. And we can preview them here. So now we have 5 videos, a couple different thumbnail tracks. So you kind of get the idea here. And as you can see, as I'm hovering over these, I'm realizing that, you know what, the dark color icon really isn't working so well. And so I think I'll probably go back here and change slider controls to light instead. And yeah, that's looking a lot better. And so we have 4 videos here, some nice thumbnail tracks, and you can play the main video up top or slide through the other videos. And in this case, they're all the same video, but you probably want to use different videos. Yep, so that's a basic overview of the video module settings. So I'm going to save this video slider and update it. We can take a look at the front page to see how it looks on the front end. So loading our page, scroll down, you can see the video slider I've added here. We have thumbnail tracks enabled, so we can click through the thumbnail tracks at the bottom, and we also have the slide arrows enabled, so you can slide through as well. But as I mentioned earlier, each of these can be disabled if you'd like to just use one or the other. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder video slider. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Filterable portfolio module in the Divi Builder. The filterable portfolio module works just like the normal portfolio module, except it adds filters at the top that allows you to switch between various categories of projects on the fly. So here's an example. The filters up here, which are the various categories that these projects exist in, and I can switch between them on the fly here to view various categories and filter them based on those categories. So that's the basic premise between the filterable portfolio module, and you can display it in two different formats: grid format as well as full width format or standard format here. So here's an example of a full width portfolio module with filters in a 2/3 column, and I can go through these filters and switch between the various categories. And here as well, when you get into smaller columns, those filters stack up instead, since they wouldn't actually fit all horizontally. Now, before you can actually use a portfolio module, you first have to create portfolio projects. And these are created using the project post type, which automatically gets added to WordPress when you install the Divi theme or Divi Builder plugin. So if you head over to your dashboard, you'll see on the left here you have a new projects tab. And projects are just like posts or pages. They're just a different type of post, a different post type as they are called in WordPress. And so Divi knows that these aren't blog posts, they're not pages, they're projects, and therefore we can kind of separate them in an easy way. And as you add new projects, they will automatically show up inside of your portfolio module. So if I go over to my projects, I can see all the projects that I've created, and you're going to want to make sure that you add your own projects. And just like when you create a post, you can use the Divi Builder or you can not, it's up to you. And you're going to want to add a featured image to that project, and that's the image that appears inside of the portfolio module as the thumbnail. So just to reiterate, before you can use any portfolio module, filterable or otherwise, you need to create some projects and add featured images to those projects, which will then appear inside the module as you see here. So there's that project I was just showing you, and that's the featured image of that project. So now let's dig into the actual module settings, and I'll show you how to create a page using this module. So here's an example of a page that I'm working on, and it's a Meet Our Team page, which basically goes over our company and our team. And in this case, I'm building this page for a imaginary web design company, and I want to display on our About Us page a quick glimpse at some of our projects so people know more, not just about who we are, but the work we do. And for that, I'm going to use the filterable portfolio module. And I'm going to add it right down here below our team and above this CTA module. So I'm going to edit the page. And then down at the bottom here, I'm going to add a new row. I'm going to make it a 1-column row. And then I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for that filterable portfolio module, which is right here. And once you click that, you'll be greeted with the module settings. Now, as with all Divi Builder modules, settings are broken up into 3 different tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. Now, as a general rule, everything you need to build an awesome page with the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you'd like even more control over the design of that module, and you'd like to customize various aspects of it, you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings, and you can do all kinds of great stuff here. You can customize absolutely everything: font sizes, colors, fonts, font weights, letter spacing, line height, anything you can think of you can modify here. And if you're CSS savvy and you'd rather just apply your own custom CSS to the module, you can do that as well inside the Custom CSS tab. Now, I have some great tutorials that go over both of these tabs and some creative ways to use them, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm really just going to focus on the general settings. So moving back here to the General Settings tab, let's go through each of these settings one by one. First up is the layout, and this lets you choose between 2 different layouts: full width and grid, which I showed you earlier. The grid being the one where the portfolio projects are broken into a 2, 3, or 4-column grid. So I'm going to switch to grid format because that's quite nice. And you can choose the post number. This is how many posts are displayed. In this case, I would like to display 8 projects. So 4 in each row. You can choose which categories to display. So just like posts, you can categorize your projects, and those categories become the filters at the top. So if you don't select any, it's just going to automatically display all of them, but you can also choose just to display a few if you'd like. Next up is the show title option. This will toggle on and off the title, which appears below the image. You can choose to show categories, as well as pagination, which appears below the portfolio module. And if you have, for example, if you have more portfolio items than the number you have chosen to display here, it'll so a pagination will be used, and you can switch between pages. Next up is the text color. So depending on what background color you're using, you'll want to choose either dark or light text. And since I'm using a light background color, white to be specific, I want to keep a dark text color so that it shows up nicely. Finally, we have the admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. Now, while you build your module, at any time you can click the preview icon to get a quick look at what you're building. And so here it's rendered inside the parent section. So here we have our section, and at the bottom the filterable portfolio module that I just added. And we can then exit the preview. And while you're in this preview, by the way, you can switch between our various responsive design testing tabs to get an idea what your module looks like at various screen sizes. So if I were to change the full width, for example, that's going to create a much different effect. As you can see down here, everything becomes big and full width. And since I really would rather have it consolidated a bit, I'm going to switch back to grid mode. And there we go. I'm going to save and then update the page, and we can take a look at what we created on the front end. So viewing our page, we have our nice about our team page, some info about our team, and then below that, some examples of our work, and finally the call to action module below that. So this looks really great. Now, like I said, and I'm just going to touch on it very briefly, you can also jump into those other tabs, those advanced design settings and CSS tabs, to really customize the appearance of the module, and you can customize absolutely everything. So the icon color, for example, which appears on hover, if I want to make that purple, and if I preview it now as I change that to purple, you can see that when I hover over this, the icon has become purple. Maybe I want to change the title font and make it bold and uppercase. You can do that as well. And if I were to preview that, again, you can see the changes on the fly as you make them. I've made my titles much larger and bolder, changed the font, and of course that icon hover color. And you can continue to customize anything about the module and really get it looking the way you want it to look. So yeah, that's a basic overview of the filterable portfolio module in the Divi Builder. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder Full Width menu module. This module allows you to add a menu to your page anywhere on your page. It also supports drop-down menus, and you can create these menus in the Appearances menu section of the WordPress dashboard, and then assign these custom menus to the module you're using, which means you can use multiple menu modules and assign different menus to each. So if you're working with kind of like a blank canvas, a blank page, you want to create your own kind of like landing page, your own one-page website, and you want to have that menu be in like a different location than it usually is. Maybe it's usually at the top and you kind of want to move it down a couple sections. Well, then the Full Width menu module is a great solution for that. So for example, I have kind of a one-page website I'm working on here, and I'd like to add a menu down here right above my blurbs. So before I can add a menu to the page, I first need to create the menu. And so I'm going to go to the WordPress dashboard and go to Appearances, Menus, and then I'm going to click the Create a New Menu link right here. So we can assign a name to the menu. And then click the Create Menu button. And then you can assign some links to that menu. So I have a bunch of stuff to choose from. I'm just going to assign a couple links just for demonstration purposes. And then I'm going to click Add to Menu. Okay, so my menu has been created. I have assigned a few links to the menu. You can reorganize these as you see fit, or you can create drop-down menus by dragging them underneath one of the parent menus. So I could drag these under and create a drop-down menu out of this link. Okay, so I have my menu created. I'm going to save the menu, and then I'm going to assign this menu to the Fullwidth menu module and then add it to my page. So going back to our landing page here, I'm going to edit the page. And since this is a Fullwidth module, it can only be added inside of a Fullwidth section. So I want to add a new Fullwidth section right above my blurbs here. And then I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for that Fullwidth menu module, which is right here. And once you click that, you'll be greeted with the Fullwidth menu module settings. Now, as with all Divi Builder modules, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: the General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to build a really great page with Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. That being said, if you want even more control over the design of your module, you can move over to the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS. The Advanced Design Settings tab has all kinds of great customization options. You can, adjust the font size, color, letter spacing, line height, really anything you can think of, you can adjust in the Advanced Design Settings. Or if you happen to know CSS, you can just apply custom CSS to the module or elements inside the module right inside the tab here. I have some great tutorials that go over how to use these settings, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So moving back to the General Settings tab, the first thing I need to do is select my menu, and that's the menu I just created in the Appearances Menus section of the WordPress dashboard. I called it New Menu, so here it is here. I'm going to select that, and now those links that I added to that menu are going to be the links that are displayed. Next up, I want to assign a background color. So just choose a color that works with your design. I'm just going to try this purple and see how it goes. Depending on which background color you chose, you're going to want to assign either a light or dark text color to the menu links. So since I chose a rather dark background color, I'm going to want to use light text in this menu. Next up is the text orientation. You can choose to either have your links aligned to the left, center, right, or justified. I'm going to choose centered for this menu. And for the drop-down menus, you can have those open upwards or downwards. So for example, if you had a menu at the very bottom of your page, you might want to have the drop-down menus actually open upwards instead of downwards so that they don't hit the bottom of the browser. In this case, I have it towards the top of the page, so I want my drop-down menus to open downwards. That's fine. And then we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't need to use in this tutorial. Now, if at any time you want to take a look at the menu you've created so far, just click the preview icon, and that'll render the current module inside of the current section. So here we have our Fullwidth menu module with the purple background and the light text, and the drop-down menus that open downward. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to save and exit, and we can see what it looks like on the front end. So viewing our page here, as I scroll down, our menu's been added. The purple actually looks really great with these blurb icon colors. And so yeah, you can see how this is can be used to create custom menus, and they can be applied to different areas of the page. So you can create kind of like unique looking pages that don't just have the standard menu at the top of the page. Now, before I end this tutorial, I just want to give you a quick glance at those advanced design settings I mentioned, which, like I said, can be used to customize the appearance of the menu in just about any way possible. So you can do all kinds of stuff like change the menu font. So I might want to change the font and make it bold and uppercase, or even bump up the size a little bit. And it's really nice to jump back and forth between the preview mode here and to see how your customizations are looking. So you can see that the font has changed. It's changed to all caps, and it's a bit bolder and bigger as well. And you can also switch between our responsive design testing tabs to see how it looks at different devices, on different devices. So when we go down to mobile, you can see that it changes to a more standard mobile menu, hamburger menu. So yep, that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder Fullwidth menu module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder image module, which allows you to add images to your posts or pages when using the Divi Builder. Here's an example of 3 image modules that have been placed in a 1/4 column. You can also enable lightbox mode so that when the image is clicked, the image is opened in a lightbox, as seen here. Of course, that's optional. You can also choose a load-in animation, so as you scroll down, the images might load in from a certain angle, which you can control, which creates a really cool effect as you explore down the page. And you use them with GIF images as well, which is pretty cool. And like I said, controlling that intro animation is nice when the images are in different positions. For example, that slide in from the left when the image is on the left looks really great. Okay, so let's jump into the builder and I'll show you how to use this module. Here's a basic page I'm working with, just a standard post with some columns of text, and I would like to add some images below this first block of text. So I'm going to edit the page, and I'm going to add a new row below that first row of text here. So I'm going to add a row. I'm just going to make it, let's do a 3-column row, and I'll bring it up here. And inside each of these columns, I'm going to add an image module. So first one up, I'm going to click the Insert Modules button, and then I'm going to look for the image module, which is right here. And once you click that, you're going to be presented with the Divi Builder image module settings. And as with all modules in the Divi Builder, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to create great posts and pages with the Divi Builder can be found in the General Settings tab. But if you want even more control over the appearance of the module, you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which typically has a bunch more options that allows you to control and customize the appearance of the module. And if you happen to be CSS savvy, you can also jump into the Custom CSS tab and add CSS to the module and individual parts of the module. Now I have some great tutorials that go over each of these tabs, but in this tutorial I'm really going to focus on the general settings. So be sure to check out the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS tutorials back in the Divi Builder documentation page. So moving to the general settings, the first thing you're going to want to do for your image module is upload an image. So I'm going to click the upload image, and you can choose to upload a new image or just pick one from your library. So I'm just going to pick one from the library that I have already, and then click the set as image. And you get a little preview of the image you've added here. And moving on, you can also define the alt text for the image, which is good for SEO, screen readers, and that kind of stuff. It just basically informs bots and stuff what this image is about. So I might just type in colored pencils. And this is optional. Next up is the image title text, which will appear when you hover over the image. Again, also optional. I'm just going to leave it blank for now. You can also choose to have the image open in a lightbox when clicked, so I'm going to enable that. Next up is the animation, the load-in animation. So as you scroll down the page, the image is going to fade in from a direction of your choosing, either left to right, top to bottom, bottom to top, right to left, or just fade in without any position change, or you can disable the animation altogether. For now, I'm just going to keep it as fade, no position change. You can also choose to remove the space below the image, and what that does is it basically takes the image and makes it sit directly on the row or section below it. So it just kind of creates a nice effect and removes the space between the section below the image. And it's really only meant to be used when the image is at the very bottom of the section. So you can kind of create that effect that the image is maybe coming up from behind the section below it, which can be pretty cool. And so I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to leave that off. Next up is the image alignment. You can choose left, right, or center. And that really only matters if the image is smaller than the column it's being placed in. And in this case, that isn't the case. And so no matter how my image is aligned, it won't matter because the image is going to assume the entire width of the column. But if you place a small image inside of a large column and you want that image to be aligned centered, you can choose that here. Next up is the admin label, CSS ID, and CSS classes, which we don't need to use in this tutorial. Now, at any time when you're configuring a module in Divi, if you want to get a preview of that module that you've created so far, you can click the preview link, and that'll render the module within the current section. And as you can see here, and you can get a nice preview of what you're working with. And you can also bounce between our responsive designs testing tabs as well to take a look at that module at different screen sizes. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going to save and exit. And like I said, I want to add a module to each of these columns. So to speed things up, I'm just going to duplicate this twice and move it into each one. And I'm going to open up these settings and just switch out the image. So I'm going to click on the upload image link to change the image. I'm going to choose something fresh for each one. And like I said, you can get a preview at any time to see what you're working with. And there we have it. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to save and exit and update the page. And we can take a look at what we have so far on the front end. So viewing the page and scrolling down, you can see we've added a nice row of images here. When they're clicked, they're going to open in a lightbox. Yep, and that's a basic overview of the image gallery module. Now, as I said, there are also some advanced design settings tabs that you can advanced design settings inside the advanced design settings tab that you can play with as well. So if you move into those, there's a bunch of cool stuff you can do. For example, add a border to the image if you wanted to. We could add a purple border to this image, increase the border width or decrease the border width, change the style. And so if you get a preview of that, here we've added a nice border to that image. So yeah, it's lots of fun stuff you can do inside the advanced design settings tab, so be sure to check that out. And yep, that's a basic overview of the Divi Builder image module. In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a basic overview of the Divi Builder portfolio module. The portfolio module is used to display a gallery of your recent portfolio projects. So whether you're a photographer, web designer, graphic designer, artist, the portfolio module is a perfect way to display your most recent work. Here's an example of the portfolio module in grid format, and it displays your basic projects. And if you were to click on any of these projects, it would take you to the individual project page, which you can then customize with the Divi Builder as well. So here's the portfolio module in grid format. Here's another example of the grid format in a full column, one column row. Now you can also use the Fullwidth portfolio module inside of a Fullwidth section. So if you want to make a portfolio that expands the entire width of the page, you can use a Fullwidth section and the Fullwidth portfolio module, as you see here, in a Fullwidth grid format. And we also have a carousel version when using the Fullwidth portfolio, and you can see the example of the carousel here. So you can kind of slide through all your basic projects horizontally like this, which is really cool. So yep, there's 4 examples of how the portfolio module and Fullwidth portfolio module can be used. And so now I'm going to jump into how to actually create portfolio items and then how to use the portfolio module. So before you can actually use the portfolio module, you first need to create projects. Now whenever you install the Divi Builder or the Divi theme, a new post type will be registered called projects. And so if you go over to your WordPress dashboard, you'll see there's a new link here called projects. And projects are just like posts and pages. They're just a different kind of post, a different post type. And they're separated just so that Divi knows that, not to display your blog posts inside the module. It only displays your projects. So it's just a way to separate them and keep things nice and organized. And like I said, before you can use the portfolio module, you first have to create projects. So you can see I've created various projects here. And for each of these projects, you want to be sure to define a featured image, which you can do down here. And as you can see, the featured image is what's used within the gallery of the portfolio module. And then you can also kind of build out these projects using the builder. So once someone clicks on any item, they'll be brought to this page, and you can kind of showcase the work in whatever way you see fit. So a great way to use the portfolio module would be, for example, if you're an artist and you have like an About Me page, you might want to display some of your recent work so that your visitors not only learn about you as a person, but learn about, the work you're creating. So I'd like to add a portfolio module to this page at the bottom. So I'm going to edit the page. And at the bottom, I'm going to add a new section. I'm just going to use a 1-column row. And I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the portfolio module, which is right here. Once you click that, you'll be greeted with the various portfolio module settings. And as with any Divi Builder module, these settings are separated into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to create a really great page in the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you want even more control over the module, over the appearance of the module, then you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings, which has customization options for every single element within the module, and you can customize absolutely everything, from colors to font sizes to fonts to spacing. You can do everything here. And if you happen to be CSS savvy, well, you can also just apply your own custom CSS to the module or individual elements within the module right inside this tab. And I have some great tutorials about how to use the advanced design settings and custom CSS, so be sure to check that out. And in this tutorial, I'm really just going to focus on the general settings. So going back to the general settings tab, the first setting is the layout. And you have 2 options, full width and grid. Full width will display your items the entire width of the column, whereas grid will break it down into different column sizes. For example, in a 1-column row, you're going to get a grid of 5 images. So if I switch to grid, which will look nice, and next up is the post number, which will decide how many posts are actually displayed. So you might want to limit it just to 10 posts. Maybe you have 100 projects. You don't want to show them all. That would make your page unreadable. So maybe we just want to limit it to 10 to show your most recent work. And you can also limit it to certain categories. If you only want to display certain categories, you can do that. Perhaps this particular portfolio module is limited to your photography and not your web design or your graphic design. Well, you can categorize your projects and limit what's displayed. If you don't select any categories, then just everything will be displayed, which is fine with me. So in this case, I'm just going to display everything in this portfolio module. Next up is you have the ability to show titles. So whatever title you give the project will be displayed below the image. You can also display the category of each project. And you can show pagination as well. So for example, if I have 20 projects, but I've only chosen to display 10, well, that's going to create a page that you can flip through to view all the projects if pagination is enabled. So if pagination is enabled and I have 20 projects limited to 10 per page, that's going to create 2 pages of 10 projects each, and I can navigate between those 2 pages. If pagination is disabled, on the other hand, I'll only be able to see the first page. Next is text color, which affects the text color of the title and categories. If you're using a dark background color, you're going to want to have light text, and if you're using a light background color, you're going to want to use dark text, which is my current situation. So I'm going to leave that as dark so that the text is readable. And finally, we have admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. Now, at any time during the module configuration process, you can get a preview of the module you're working on by clicking the preview icon here. And that's going to render the module inside of its parent section. And so as you see, we have the portfolio module here, displaying 10 projects in grid format. And it's looking nice, but considering that in grid format in a 1-column row, we have 4 projects per row, I would probably want to limit this to 8 instead of 10, so we don't have these 2 widowed projects at the bottom here. So I'm going to go back, change this to 8, and preview it again. Now we have a much nicer layout here, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to save it and update the page, and then we can take a look at what we built on the front end. So viewing the page now, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and here we have our portfolio in grid format. And like I said, if I were to click any of these, we'll be brought to the page, the portfolio project page, and you can build these out to be as cool as you want. So here's an example of, you know, a fake project page that we created, which looks really nice. Now there's other formats too. So like I said, you can also choose between grid and full width. So if we were to choose full width, on the other hand, and update the page, it's not going to be in grid format anymore. When we refresh, it's going to have one project per row, just like this, which can look nice. It's kind of more like a blog feed, so it just depends what you're trying to do. And on this page, I think this is a little bit much for the page. I'm going to switch back to grid mode. And update the page, and now we're back to grid mode, which is looking great. So that's a basic overview of the standard portfolio module, but as I mentioned in the beginning, the portfolio module can also be used in a full width section. So I'm going to show you how that works right now. I'm going to delete this row section and create a new full width section, and inside that full width section I'm going to input the full width portfolio module. And much of these settings are the same, except for the layout settings, which can be toggled between grid and carousel. So we have a new option here called carousel. And you can also input a title, which will appear above the portfolio items. So I'm going to give this a preview to show you what it looks like. And here we have a carousel version of the full width portfolio, and it can be slid through like this. And I'm going to exit and save, and we can take a look at that on the front end. Refresh here. And so yeah, we've really changed the appearance here with this full width row, full width section, sorry. And it can be slid through like this. So yep, that's a basic overview of the two different variations of the portfolio module, the standard portfolio module and the full width, and also the three different layout settings, standard, carousel, and grid, which all look different and can be very useful in different situations. Now, before I leave, I want to also touch on the advanced design settings very briefly. So I'm going to add back that portfolio module from before. And this time I'm going to adjust a few things in the advanced design settings tab, just to show you how that works. Now there's so much you can do here. For example, I could adjust the font and font weight and text size of the title font. So if I want to bump this up a little bit, I can see what that looks like quickly in the preview. So here our title has been bumped up in font weight and size, and the font is changed. If I go back to general settings, I can switch to grid view and see how that looks. And you can see here all the titles have been made much larger. And so there's a lot of other stuff you can do here as well. For example, adjusting the zoom icon color. Maybe I want to change it to purple. You can change the overlay color. Maybe from, instead of a white, I can change it to more of a dark color. So let's see that effect. You can see, so now when I hover over it, it becomes dark instead of light, and the icon is purple instead of blue. And you can continue to customize absolutely everything about the module, as you can in every single Divi module. So that's a basic overview of the portfolio module, as well as the full width portfolio module in the Divi Builder. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the Divi Builder Sidebar module, which can be used to place widget-ready areas onto your post or page in the form of sidebars, as you see here. So here's a page that I've built using a specialty section in the Divi Builder, and on the left sidebar area, I placed a sidebar module, and on the right, I placed one as well. And in the middle, I have some basic text. Now, before you can actually use the sidebar module, you first have to fill up a widget-ready area to be applied to that sidebar module. So you may have different widget-ready areas in your WordPress dashboard available to you, depending on which combination of plugins you have installed. Some of them register new areas that you can use. And there's also plugins you can use just to create new sidebar areas, which means that you can apply different widget areas to different sidebar modules and add different sidebars to different pages, or add multiple sidebars to different pages, which, like I said, are really just combinations of different widgets. So the sidebar has a search widget, recent posts, recent comments, archives, categories, and meta. So you're going to want to jump into your WordPress dashboard and go to the Appearances and Widgets area. And here you can configure your widgets area. So I'm working with a few different widget areas here. And what I'm going to focus on now is this sidebar widget. And that's the one I'm going to apply to my sidebar module. So I've filled it up with some widgets that I'd like to use. And then I'm going to go and add a sidebar module to my page and then apply this particular widget area to that sidebar so that I can display these widgets. So let's create a new page and I'll show you how it works. Okay, I'm going to use the Divi builder, and like I said before, these sidebar modules work great with specialty sections because they're kind of built with these bottom to top spanning vertical sections, which are basically meant for sidebars. So I'm going to create a new specialty section, and here's that layout I was showing you earlier with the sidebar on the left, sidebar on the right. So you can use that, but in this case I'm just going to use one sidebar and put it on the right here. And in the middle here, I'm just going to put some text. So I'm just going to quickly put some random text in a text module just to fill out the design a little bit. Save. And over here on the right, I'm going to add my sidebar. So I'm going to click Insert Modules and look for that sidebar module. And once you click that, you're going to be greeted with the sidebar module settings. And as with all Divi Builder modules, these settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, all the everything you need to build a really great page can be found inside the general settings. But if you'd like to venture into the advanced design settings and get some more control over the appearance of the module, you can do so. So in the advanced design settings, there's a bunch of options related to the appearance of the module. You can customize absolutely everything: font sizes, font weights, colors, line height, letter spacing, padding, margin. Everything you can think of, you can customize here. And if you happen to know custom CSS, you can apply that as well to the module or elements inside the module. And I have some great tutorials that focus on these 2 tabs here, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm really just going to focus on the general settings. So I'm going to head back to the general settings tab and go over each of these options. First up is the orientation. So this is where you choose this affects the line. There's like a line rule to the left or right of the sidebar. And so if, depending on which part of the page you're placing it on, you might want to change where that line appears so that it adds a line between the sidebar and the content in the section. So you can adjust that to be to the left or right. Next up is the widget area. This is where you select the widget area, which are collections of widgets, as I mentioned earlier. So in this case, I'm going to choose that sidebar widget area, which has the particular collection of widgets that I want to apply to this sidebar module. So I'm going to click the sidebar widget area. Next is the text color. So if you're working with a dark background, you might want to use light text, and if you're working with a light background, as I am, you probably want to use dark text to ensure that the text is readable. And finally, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we don't need to worry about in this tutorial. Now, if at any time you want to get a preview of the module you're working with, you can do so by clicking the preview icon here. And that'll render the module inside of its parent section. So we get the sidebar and also that text module I was working with earlier. And you can bounce back and forth between our responsive design testing tabs as well to get an idea how that module responds to different screen sizes. So remember when I was talking about earlier that line? So this is the line I was referring to. And since my sidebar is on the right, I actually want to have that line be on the left. So I'm going to switch that up. I'm going to leave the preview and change the orientation here. And now when I go back, you'll see that that line is switched sides, since that's where I want it. Since we're on the right side of the page, we want the right orientation. And so that's looking good. I'm going to save and exit, and we can publish our page and see how it looks. So taking a look here, we have a basic page of text on the left, sidebar on the right, oriented on the right with a line between the two sections, and it's looking great. So that's a basic overview of the sidebar module general settings. But before I end this tutorial, I want to jump into the advanced design settings just really quickly to show you what kind of stuff can be done here. Like I said, you can customize absolutely everything about the module in these advanced design settings. For example, I might want to adjust the header font of the widgets and make it a different font, or make it bold or caps, all caps, and maybe even bump up the size a little bit, or choose a different color. I mean, there's really no limit to what you can do. And it's really great to kind of bounce back and forth between the preview here to get an idea what you're working with. So you can see I bumped up the size and font weight and changed the font of those titles here. And I could change the color as well if I wanted to. And see how that looks. And yeah, so that's a little kind of basic overview of those advanced design settings, which give you full control over the appearance of the module. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder sidebar module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder slider module, which can be used to add sliders to your page, either in normal columns, standard sections, or full width sections. And a slider is basically like a slideshow. So as you slide between each slide, the content of the slide, the image, and the background color, video, or image changes, and you can have as many slides as you want. And you typically see these at the top of home pages. For example, if you look at the home page of this demo, you'll see a nice slider at the top with the background video. And on the next slide, we have a background image and an image, and it's actually set to parallax mode, which is really cool. So the slider supports parallax mode for background images. And so going back to our slider demo here, you can place them in any size column, or you can place them in full width sections as you see here. So here's an example of a full width slider, and here's some examples of normal sliders placed in 1/2 columns. And finally, here's another full width slider with a background video, which looks really cool. And like I said, you typically see these at the top of home pages. So I have like a nice home page I'm starting to build here, and I'd like to place a slider at the top above these 4 blurbs. So I'm going to edit the page, and to start out, we'll add a standard slider in a standard section. So I'm going to add a new standard section here, just a single column, and I'm going to move it up to the top of the page. And then I'm going to click the Insert Modules button and look for the slider module, which is towards the bottom. And once you click on the slider module, you'll be greeted with the slider module settings. And as with all Divi Builder modules, these settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to build a really great page with the Divi Builder can be found inside the General Settings tab. But if you want even more control of your module, then you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which has a ton of different customization options and allows you to customize the appearance of every single element inside the module. You can change fonts, font sizes, colors, font weights, line height, letter spacing, margin, padding. There's really no limit to what you can do in the Advanced Design Settings tab. And if you happen to know CSS, you can also jump into the Custom CSS tab and apply your CSS rules directly to the module or elements inside of the module. And I have some really great tutorials that go over these 2 tabs, so be sure to check those out. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to focus on the general settings. So heading back to the General Settings tab, the first thing you're going to want to do in the slider module is add a new slide. So a slider needs to have at least 1 slide, typically more than 1 slide. And to add a new slide, you just click the Add New Slide button here, and then you're going to have a bunch of different settings for that particular slide. And there's a lot here to take in, so let's go over these one by one. First is the heading. This is the title of the slide. It appears in large text above the content text and the button. So I'm just going to call it slide number 1. And so yeah, slides also support buttons. If you don't put any button text or button URL here, then there just won't be a button in your slide, which is also fine. But if you'd like to use a button, you can input button text here. So I'll just say click here, and then you can also input a button URL. So for example, if your slide is kind of introducing your team, maybe you want to link it to your About Us page and have them learn more about your team. That would be one option. Or maybe you're asking them to sign up for your product or get a quote, anything like that. So you just want to customize that button text to be relevant, as with the URL as well. Now, each slide can have either a background image, a background color, or a background video. And so you can kind of choose what you want to do for your slide. And just to keep it simple for now, I'm just going to do a background color. So I'm going to skip the background image and go just to straight background color. And we'll just have a flat background color for the slide. And then I'll circle back and go over the background image settings. Now, sliders also support slide images, which will be placed to the left of the text. So you can optionally add an image to your slide, and I'll add one now. So I'm just going to pick a nice image to add here. Let's see. This looks good, so I'm just going to add this as my slide image. And like I said, this will appear to the left of the text inside the slide, not to be mistaken with the background image, which is used as the background for the entire slide. So you can choose the vertical alignment of the image. If you choose center, it'll be centered vertically within the slider. If you choose bottom, then that image will be stuck to the bottom of the slide, and which is kind of like a nice effect if you're kind of trying to create the effect that the image is kind of behind the section below it. And a good example of that is, let's bounce back to this page, and as you can see here on this slide, here's an example of an image who's been aligned bottom. And so yeah, so it sticks to the bottom of the slide, and like I said, it kind of looks like this phone is actually behind the white space below here. And then another option would be to have the image in vertically centered here. As you can see, so there's space above and below the image. It's not stuck to the bottom like that iPhone I showed you a second ago. So you can choose centered or bottom for vertical alignment. Next up is a slide video. If you'd like to use a video instead of an image, you can do that. I'll go over that later, but you can just input a URL to a video, like a YouTube video, and then that video will be displayed inside the slide to the left of the text. You can apply alt text to your image, which is, mainly for bots, so for Google or for screen readers and that kind of stuff, to know what the image is actually about. So if you have an image, like here's an image that has an S on it, I want to say like S portfolio image or whatever you want to put there. So that's completely optional, but you can add alternative text to the image. Next is the text color. So since I'm using a dark background, this dark purple, I want to have light text. But if you're using a light background, you might want to switch to dark text to ensure that that text is readable. Next, we have background video. Like I said, each slide can have a background color, image, and video. In this case, I'm just using a flat color, so I'm not going to apply a background video. But when I make a new slide, I'll go over these in detail. So I'm going to skip over them for now and just go down to the content. The content is just kind of like the smaller size text that appears in a paragraph below the larger title text and above the button text. So you just want to, whatever information you want to put here, type that in, and like I said, it'll appear below the title in smaller text. You can also add an admin label so you can remember what this slide is about, but that's optional. And I'm going to save. And if at any time during the module editing process you want to get a glimpse of what you're working on, you can click the preview icon here, and then it'll show you the slide you've created. So here's my slide. It has a purple background. It has an image to the left here. It is centered vertically. And then I have my header text here, the main content, and my image. So it's looking good so far. So as you've seen so far, there are settings for the actual slides, but there's also general settings for the overall slider, which affects all slides. And so I'll go over those now. And so when you're in here in the main settings, you'll see these. And you can choose to have arrows or not. And this will remove, so typically there's arrows that pop in on the slider and you can click them to slide from each slide, but you can also hide those if you like, and then you won't be able to manually switch between slides, but you can have automatic animation enabled. So if you want your slide just to kind of like automatically slide through and not have people click the arrows, that's an option. You can hide the arrows or show the arrows, it's up to you. You can also choose to hide or show the slider controls, which are the little dots that appear at the bottom of the slider, which allow you to see which slide in the series of slides that you're on. And I'll show you those in a second, but you can choose to hide or disable those. Show or hide those. Next up is automatic animation, which I mentioned. If this is enabled, then your slides are going to automatically slide from slide to slide without the user actually clicking the arrows. And if you do enable this, you can choose how long it takes for each slide to automatically slide in milliseconds. So if you want it to take 5 seconds or between each slide, or 3 seconds between each slide, you can type that in milliseconds. So 3000 milliseconds would be 3 seconds. You can, if you have automatic slide enabled, you can also choose to disable the automatic slide when the mouse is hovering over the slider. So that typically means someone's focused on the content in that slide. Maybe they're reading it, and so if you do this, then while they're reading that text, it won't automatically slide. And as soon as they take their mouse off the slider, it'll start sliding again. Next up is the parallax effect, which applies to background images, which we're not using. But if you are using a background image, you can apply a parallax effect, which looks really cool. And in my next slide, I'll go over that. Next, we have the inner shadow option. Typically, all sliders have an inner shadow applied to them, which just kind of like separates the slider from the stuff around it and kind of gives some depth to it. But if you're going for more of a flatter look, you can disable that. So I'm going to remove the inner shadow. If you did apply a background image, you can choose the position of that image. So top left, top center, top right. You can choose from any number of different positions for that image. Since we're not using an image, it doesn't matter in this particular slider. But when I add a new slide, I'll come back and configure these and show you what they do. You can choose different background image sizes, so you can choose to make it automatically fit to the slider, in which case the Divi builder will automatically change the dimensions of the image to make sure it always fits and always fills up the entire slide. Or you can just choose to have an actual size. And if you do that, if you upload a small image and you have a big slider, then the image will not end up covering the entire slide, but that's up to you. And finally, we have our admin label, CSS ID, and CSS class, which we won't be using in this tutorial. So I've added one slide. I'm going to go ahead and save and just show you what it looks like on the front end. And then I'm going to go back and add some more slides, one with a background image and one with a background video, so I can show you how those options work. And the options that I skipped over that apply to that, I'll go back and cover those as well. So here we have our slider. It's just one slide right now, so I can't flip through anything. And yeah, there's no background image, no background video, just a flat color. We have our slide image on the left, and we've applied a slide title, content, and button. So let's go back and add a new slide. And to do that, you can head back to the slider settings and click the Add New Slide button down here. And so I'm just going to call this slide 2. Input some button text and URL. And this time I'm going to apply a background image. So I'm going to click the Upload Image. And you can choose from any image in your gallery or upload a new image if you like. So I'm just going to find a nice image that can be applied to this slide. This is looking good. Nice mountainscape. It'll also look nice because it's kind of dark, so my light text will appear nicely over it. And so now that I've applied a background image, I can go over some of these background image settings. So top center, so you can apply different positioning to the images. Typically, I just leave it at default, but if you want, for example, if you had an image and most of the focus was at the top of the image, you might want to have it align top center instead of center. So just taking a look at our image here. Most of the content is pretty focused in the center, so that's great. So just leaving it at default is fine. But for example, if I had a picture of a person and maybe their head, was up at the top right of the image, and I want to make sure that that is always displayed, well, then I probably wouldn't want to have it aligned bottom or center, or else that person's face is going to get cut off, at most screen resolutions. So just depending on where your image, where the main focus of the image is, you might want to play with this background positioning. And then the background image size, You can choose to have it fit, cover, or actual size. And those are just 3 different kind of CSS options. And if you, like I said, if you have it set to actual size, the Divi builder is not going to resize that at all. It's just going to have it size of the actual resolution of the image. So if you have a huge image, then you're only going to see a small part of the image, right? Because it's could be so big it's going to overflow the actual size of the slider. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you're a really tiny image and you have it, let's say a line top right, you're just going to have this little teeny square in the top right of your slide, and it's not going to look so good. So typically you just want to use a default fit or cover, but I'm just going to keep it at default. Next is the background color. So even though we have a background image applied, I still want to add a background color, and the reason is because if someone has a slow connection, it might take a little while for that background image to load in. And for example, if we're using a dark background color and then a dark background image and light text on top of that background image, and then we have the default white background color applied, well, when that slide first loads in and the background image hasn't loaded in yet, you're going to see white text on top of a white background color, which is completely unreadable. So it's not a very good experience. And also, if you had some like crazy purple background and then, you know, this dark gray image on top, and then you kind of see you see this flash of purple as the image loads in, that's not good either. So typically, just kind of choose a neutral background color that kind of matches your image. And so I have a dark gray image, and I'm just going to choose a dark gray background color to go along with it. And we can apply our slide image if we want. I'm just going to use no slide image in this case for this slide. And apply some content. And save. And we can get a preview like I said before. So if we take a look at the slide we've built so far, you'll see the second slide has a background image and then no slide image to the left of it like we had in our first one, which means that the content's going to be centered instead. And you can see how the slides automatically slide in. That's because I have automatic slide enabled. And if I turn that off, it won't automatically slide anymore. Fix this spelling error. Okay, I'm going to save and exit, and we'll take a look at the slider we built so far. So here we have slide 1, which is a flat purple background color. Our slide image is added, which means the slide is kind of broken up into 2 pieces, text on the right, image on the left. If we go to the next slide, we have no slide image, so our text is centered and is allowed to expand the full width. It's not broken into 2 sections like the first slide. And we have a background image instead of a flat color. Okay, so let's go back and add a third slide, and this time I'm going to do a background video. So I'm just going to duplicate this slide. You can also duplicate slides, which can save you a little time. So I'm just going to duplicate slide 2, jump into the settings here, call it slide 3 instead, and I'm going to get rid of this image. So if you just delete the URL in the input field here, then the image will also be removed. And this time I'm going to use a background video. And so whenever you apply a background video to a slide, you need to have it in 2 formats, MP4 and WebM. You need to have both formats uploaded. And the reason is because different browsers support different video types. And so if you only upload one of these 2 versions, then on a lot of browsers, the video is just not going to play. So you need to have both. And so typically you can, there's a lot of programs out there that will convert a video to WebM from MP4. And so you want to, there's a lot of free ones too. So depending on if you're on Mac or Windows, just type in like, free WebM converter, and you can probably find something that'll work for you. So you can upload a video. I have a few here. So I have this homepage slider, MP4, and I also have this homepage slider, WebM. So I can, since I'm working with the MP4 input, I'm going to choose the MP4 version here and set as background video. And then I'm also going to apply the WebM version to the WebM field. So I have 2 videos here. same exact video, but one's in MP4 format and one's in WebM format. Now, one other thing you have to be aware of is the size of your video. So when you created the video, you probably created it at a specific resolution. It had a height and a width. And if you don't know what that is, you can open up the video and inspect it and figure that out. But we need to tell the Divi builder what that width and height is so that it can correctly size the video on different screens. And so this is very important. If you leave this blank or don't input the right size, then when you view your slider, you might see that on some resolutions and some screen sizes, the video isn't filling up the section correctly. And so we want to make sure that that's correct. And I happen to know that the size of my video is 1920 in width and 638 in height, and that's in pixels. So 1920px by 638px. That happens to be the height of my video, but it may differ depending on which video you're using. And so that's the basic overview of background videos. You need to have two formats, MP4 and WebM. They're typically the same exact video, just converted in two different formats. And you need to have the background width and height, 1920 and 638. Now, one thing else I want to touch on before we move on is that background video in general, HTML5 video is kind of a new thing. So depending on the server you're using, your server setup might not support it. And so you need to make sure that it does support it by registering the correct, what are called MIME types for your server. And this can typically be done using the htaccess file. And so if you take a look at the written tutorial notes below this video, we have a lot of info about how to do that, how to make sure you have the correct MIME types registered. But if you've gone through these steps, if you've applied to MP4 video and a WebM, and you've put in the height and width, and for still some reason that video is not appearing on your desktop computer, most likely you need to register those MIME types correctly. So be sure to check out that tutorial text below and do that if you run into any trouble. Okay, so I've applied my video and I'm going to save it, and we can get a quick preview here. Slide 1, slide 2 with the background image, and slide 3 with the background video. So there it is. It's looking good. I'm going to save and exit. And one more time, I'm going to show you what this looks like on the front end. So we now have 3 slides. The first one has a slide image, a flat background color. Slide 2 has no slide image and a background image. And slide 3 has a background video. As you can see, the video is playing there. I'll just let it play really quick. There we go. It fills in. Looks pretty cool. Okay, so we've covered almost everything. There's one more thing I want to cover, which is parallax background images. So I'm going to head back to the slider. I'm going to apply a parallax effect to this slider. And the parallax mode controls are on the main slider settings. So they're not inside the slide settings. They're here in the main settings. And down here, I'm going to choose Use Parallax Effect. So there's 2 parallax modes, CSS and True Parallax. And they're a little different. So CSS is a bit more dramatic, and it's going to make it so that the image you're using is at a fixed position. And as you scroll, the image is not going to move at all in the background, and all the stuff around it is going to move at normal speeds. So it's going to look like that image is kind of stuck in the background and not moving, which can look really cool. True Parallax, on the other hand, uses JavaScript to move that image at a slightly different speed than the rest of the content around it, which kind of creates this cool effect of depth. And so it's like you're pivoting around 2 different objects, right? And the object in front of you is moving slower relatively to the object below it, or behind it. And so it kind of creates this parallax effect, a true parallax effect. And so you can choose between those 2 different modes. And I'll just start off with CSS to show you what that looks like. I'm going to save and exit with parallax enabled. And then we can view the page and show you that parallax effect. So it only applies to background images. So I'm going to go to slide 2. And as you see, as I scroll, that background image is stuck in its position and the text moves on top of it, which is pretty cool. But it is really dramatic because we're using the CSS mode, which just stops that image from moving entirely. It's just completely stuck. But if we were to change that to parallax mode, it's going to be a little bit more, true parallax mode, it's going to be a little bit more subtle, which I tend to like better, but it's all up to you. It's personal opinion. So I'm going to refresh this and we'll take a look at true parallax mode. As you can see here, the image isn't stuck completely, but it is moving a little bit slower than the stuff around it. And so that's what true parallax mode is. And you'll also notice that when using CSS parallax mode, depending on the resolution of your image, the way it works is that using CSS parallax mode, it stretches the image to the width of your browser. And so if you're using like, if your browser happens to be really tall, like on an iPhone or an iPad in portrait mode, then that background image in CSS parallax mode is going to be stretched to be really, really big, because it has to, the height of the image has to be the height of the entire browser. So if you're playing with an image in CSS parallax mode, you notice, man, my image is getting stretched way too big. I don't really like how it looks. Try using true parallax instead, or disabling parallax entirely. So there's one more thing left I want to do, and that's show you how you can add a video here instead. So I'm going to add a YouTube video to the slide instead of an image, which is also an option. So let me find a great video to use here. Okay, I have a video. I'm going to edit this slide, and on our second slide, or our first slide, sorry, where we have an image, I'm going to take off this slide image, and instead I'm going to use a slide video. So I've just pasted in my YouTube URL. It supports YouTube. It also supports custom videos if you want to input a URL to your own video. Vimeo as well also works. Okay, so I'm going to save, and we can just get a quick preview of this. As you can see, my Divi video has been added in place of that image. So that's an option as well. You can do videos or images in your slide. Now that's a basic overview of all the slider module settings, but before I leave you, I want to just go over one more thing, which is a basic overview of the advanced design settings. And I'm not going to go over all these. I'm just going to show you that you really can customize just about everything. So for example, if I wanted to maybe change the title font, make it a little bit bigger in all caps, I could do that. I can choose a custom color as well. If I jump into the preview, I can see my modifications here. I just bumped up this header font size. I changed the font and also made it bold in all caps. So yeah, there's really no limit you can do here. You can customize absolutely everything, customize the button if you want. Maybe add a custom background color to the button. I can preview that. There you go, I added a green background color. So yep, these advanced design settings are a lot of fun, and it's really easy to customize stuff, and it's nice to kind of jump back and forth between the preview mode here as well. And that is a basic overview of the Divi Builder slider module. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use the Divi Builder text module. This is really the most basic of the Divi modules, but you'll find yourself using it a lot just to add text to the page. So here's an example of a text module on the left with various paragraphs and headings, H1 through 6. And you can just place them in different columns, sizes to get different layouts. And so just using, basic column structures and text can really result in a lot of fun designs. You can adjust the text color. So placing light text on a dark background color section looks nice. And you can apply, all the standard inline styles that you would usually be able to apply inside of the standard WordPress text editor. So just to jump in here, we're going to create a basic page similar to this with a sidebar and some text. So here I'm going to enable the Divi Builder and create a basic let's see, I'll do a 2/3, 1/3 column, and on the left here I'm going to add a text module. So I'm going to click the Insert Modules button, and look for the text module, which is towards the bottom. And this will open up the text module settings, and as with all Divi Builder modules, the settings are broken up into 3 tabs: General Settings, Advanced Design Settings, and Custom CSS. As a general rule of thumb, everything you need to build a really great page can be found inside the General Settings tab, but if you want even more control over the appearance of the module, then you can venture into the Advanced Design Settings tab, which has a bunch of different customization options for the module. In fact, you can customize absolutely everything here, from fonts, font weights, colors, text sizes, padding, and margin. And if you know CSS, you can also jump into the Custom CSS tab and apply custom CSS to the module or elements inside of the module. Now I have some really great tutorials that go over the Advanced Design Settings and Custom CSS tabs, so I encourage you to check those out. But for this tutorial, we're just going to focus on the General Settings tab. So jumping back to the General Settings tab, the text module is a very minimal module. There are really only 3 settings, which is text color, text orientation, and then the text itself. And you'll recognize this text editor as the standard WordPress text editor, and it has all the functions that you would normally have in a post that you're building with the standard text editor. You can add shortcodes to here. You can bounce between visual and text mode. Add links, paragraphs, headings, all that great stuff. So this is really just a way to apply text using the standard text editor to a page. But the beauty is that once it's inside the Divi Builder, you can move it around and combine it with other modules and add it to various column widths and column structures. So I'm just going to copy and paste some text into this page. And then as far as the text color is concerned, since we're using a dark or a light background color on this page, it's white, I'm going to keep the text color dark, but if you're using a dark background color, you might want to change that to light instead. Next up is the text orientation, which will affect the overall orientation of the text, whether it be left, right, centered, or justified. You can also apply alignments inside of the text editor as well, using these standard controls. But if you like to just apply something to the entire text module, you can do so here. And I'm just going to keep it aligned left and save. And then I'm going to add a sidebar module here just for effect, but I'm not going to go over the sidebar module settings in this tutorial. And I'm going to publish, and we'll take a look at the page in the front end. So there we have it, just a very basic, paragraphs of text inside of a 2/3 column, and then my sidebar on the right. And jumping back in here, again, you can adjust the text color if you like. So for example, if we're using a dark background color in our section, a dark purple perhaps, well, in that case, our text isn't going to look so good. And while you're editing the module, you can always get a quick preview of the module by clicking the preview icon here. And as you'll see, this dark text is not going to look so great on top of our purple background. In fact, I can't read it at all. So this is the perfect situation where you'd want to switch over to light text mode. So going back, switch it to light, and take a preview here, and that's going to look much better. So I'm going to save and exit, and do the same to the sidebar. And we'll take a look at our new page. So there you have it, some light text on top of a purple background. And that's really all you need to know about the text module. It's just a way to add text and a way to utilize the standard WordPress text editor inside of a page you are building with the Divi Builder.